Okay, let me see. Hello, hello, hello. So I have this episode, and then I have this camera, and I have another camera there. So whichever one works is amazing. But welcome back, everybody. This is the first time I'm actually recording a podcast in a long time, like just by myself. Like I think the last episode I recorded was with Chris for Prime Connect, which you guys should check out anyway. But this thing is so high. But yeah, it is Monday, the 20th of May, 10 p.m. So it's a great day. I want to talk about something that somebody asked me specifically to talk about. People now are most of my friends at least, or people who I am very close to, are now in the process of moving out. And there's a lot of tension there with themselves and a lot of like anxiety that comes with, that kind of, I guess, just moving out, and they don't know what to do. And so I moved out. Well, I didn't really move out, but COVID kind of made me move out. So I can't say I moved out when I was 18. Wait, no, I was 19. And it was a very interesting experience. Now, I will tell you more about moving out and growing up and being a young adult, but it also you have to realize that not one size fits all. Sometimes you just need to figure it out by yourself. Sometimes you need your friends' help, or sometimes you need your parents' help. Every every single person has a different type of personality that fits a different type of like setting, I guess, for moving out. For me, I'm quite independent. I like just doing things by myself, so I don't have that issue of like, oh yeah, I need help. But for some people, they do, and I guess the experience depends on how you view growing up. For me, I've always viewed growing up as a sense of like freedom, but also like an ability to just make mistakes and figure it out. And that has always made it so easy for me, even if something goes wrong, to be able to say, okay, this is not great. Let's figure it out. For some people, it's panic mode if something goes wrong. I will say I'll just jump right into it. Okay, you decided, mom, dad, I'm moving out. Or circumstances that made you move out. Mom is not there, dad is not there. You're like, okay, I'm gonna move out, I'm gonna live by myself. At that point, some people move out from home. Oh, my button's intact. Some people move out from home, then they go to college, then they find a partner, and then they get married. So they never really move out. Some people strictly move out and they never come back. And then some people just grow up alone. For the people who go to college, right? I think college is a mask for real life, and so sometimes you go and like waste your time there and come out having learned nothing, or you go there and you learn how to become an adult, you learn budgeting and all these things, and you come out. Some people just never figure it out. They're just ignorant to life and they just enjoy life all the way. So, I mean, it depends where you land. For me, I just find myself like, I like taking challenges. I never like feeling comfortable so much because comfort breeds negativity and I think just breeds laziness. But I will say, let's go into the hard stuff. Let's start with the bad stuff about moving out or the hard stuff. I think one, when you move out of your family or whatever, you realize really quickly how much they meant. Like there's very small things that you don't even think about that quickly become very clear. Like for example, you wake up and there's breakfast. If you don't buy your own food and stock up your own fridge, there's not gonna be breakfast. So you have to think about that. You wake up and like the power is on, and the water is running, and you never have to think about that because your parents constantly think about that. You wake up and maybe your parents are kind of still taking care of you, and so you kind of have this comfort, and you can say, I want this and I want this, and you never really have to worry about it. But when you live alone, you have to. You wake up and you don't really think much about your own security. You just wake up and do your own thing. Well, with moving out, you have to think about your own security and you have to think about all the implications of where you stay, what time you come home, what systems you use, who lives next to you, all these things, right? And then there's like the small things like doing your own laundry or paying for your own bills or budgeting. Now, my hardest one was budgeting because I never actually thought much about it. And so I remember the first time I moved out, I was still being supported. And so, I got this money, right? And I was told that is for your budget for a week. I think it was a week. And I remember sitting there and being like, well, great. And I remember like spending it. I didn't spend it wrongly, but I didn't think much about the implications of spending it. And so the first time, like, I ran out of money very quickly, even though like I did things that were pretty normal. And I was trying to live up to the life I lived before, and have all these things or buy all these things, mostly like just groceries. And then I quickly realized I I can't sustain that lifestyle that I lived under my parents because there's things that they provided that I can't. For example, if I go out and I buy peanut butter jam, peanut butter jelly, bread, and then I buy like I don't know, like honey and all these things, right? Money's gonna run out pretty quickly. I only need peanut butter jelly and bread at this time because I'm doing my own budget. Then I realized, oh, I cannot just use all this money for data. I need to figure out how much data I'm using. I need to find out a plan that works. I can't just spend all this money on data because when I'm home, I only use Wi-Fi. I don't have to think about that, right? And then like I'm like, oh, I have to pay my electric bill and water bill, and I'm like, okay, great. So I write it down, and it looks great. Then I realized the one thing I wasn't prepared for is the things that come along the way. For example, like the heater breaks, right? You have to find someone to fix that. And you're like, I don't have any money. What am I going to do? Or like something happens with your wall or your painting or you want to like paint out a room. Those things that come along are the ones that are the worst. Because then in that moment, you're like, I'll just use this. And so I quickly realized that the bills were running up on me and I was kind of struggling to like figure out like, and I really started hating that life. I was like, how am I going to live like this for the rest of my life? Even if I get a job, I just don't feel I feel like I'll paycheck to paycheck. And slowly I started realizing that there's things that I used to do that I didn't have to do anymore or I couldn't do anymore just because of the state. So I kind of cut out like moving around so much because I had to pay for transport. Um, that saved me a lot. I cut out how much like groceries I was buying. I just bought healthy stuff. There's a time I just ate a lot of ramen. That was great. And then I also cut out like how much I was eating out and just doing things out. And so slowly I started actually being a very home like I started staying at home so much, not because I couldn't go out, but because I knew my budget. I couldn't. I lived within my means, and I became happier, and I started caring less about so many things, and I started using my budget and putting it in the right places. And it's funny because at that time I was like, okay, I need a job, and then ideas started flowing in, like I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, and that's how I kind of became stable. And like one advice I got from that I'll give you is when it gets tough, stay in it. Stay in that toughness. Don't like wiggle out and like panic and call your mom and be like, come take me home. No, no, no. Just relax, breathe in, figure it out. And like I mean, if you like go without food, then that's a different situation. But like if you just stress about finances, the human brain has a way of figuring it out and actually enduring the hardships. And it prepares you for a time in the future where you're fully alone. Because, at the beginning, you're kind of the parents, but life is not always that cushiony. Sometimes it gets hard. And so I think, like, that time was a time of innovation, a time of, like, thinking, a time of discovery, a time of, like, learning, a time of pain, a time of loneliness. And looking back, it was amazing. Now, it was also during COVID, so I didn't have to go anywhere anyway. I didn't have to spend much money anyway, so that taught me a lot, actually. Something I struggled with too was, even though I'm such an like introvert, and I'm quite independent, right? Because I moved out, I realized I couldn't just have my parents' friends and the friends I had before. I had to create my own friends. I had to create my own community. And the idea of going out there and creating your own community is so hard, you know? And so I kind of just became a loner. I'm always a loner anyway, but I became a loner, and it was it was interesting just figuring out how to navigate that, because I did not know like I didn't know like how to like look at myself, because the thing is, when you move out, even if you're like really living a high life with your parents, you kind of have to deep and become like your own person, and you start like from scratch, unless like your parents like pay for everything. But if you like start from scratch, sometimes it's hard to look at yourself and think, man, I wish I could afford this and this and this. But like comparison is actually really bad. I mean, I think there's even a saying that says like comparison is a thief of joy or something, but it's true. It really is true. When you're living alone, it's time to grow up. And it's hard to grow up when you keep looking around and seeing people in your stage who maybe are a bit higher than you. It just is. And it's hard because there's nothing you can do about it. And so you can become very depressed about situations like that. But yeah, there's just like I think the best part of it is if you surround yourself with the right community of people, then you're gonna have a great time. Now, that's me. That's me moving out. That's me growing up. I also realized that this time gave me like a space to try and connect with God, and actually like question a lot of things about myself, because I'm by myself all the time. It's just me and my brain. It's COVID. There's no one around, and so I have to start thinking about this the bigger picture, the bigger meaning of life, and my struggles around that time, and just like the small things like budgeting and stuff, makes you question. And there's a point you reach that you almost think you're useless or worthless. Um, and you question everything you're doing. You're like, how, like, am I actually losing right now, or is this where everybody is? And you start questioning like everything, like, why am I here? You hate your life at that time, like you're like, oh, I'm a young adult. It's not the funnest thing. But it also gives you an ability to question things in the right way and level up with God and being like, okay, this is why do we give um time to God? Why do we have suffering? Why do we have to go through hardships? Why do we have to learn and grow through hard times? Why does this like uncomfortable times breed quality people? These kind of things, like you really just start questioning it, and you start like developing your own person. That's where you develop your own person. I always believe that your belief is built from your experience and your temperament. And I believe that, like if you have the right experience and you also are quick to anger, or you're slow to anger, depending on like how you are naturally are, um, then you're going to build an idea and react to things differently, and it creates a belief. And then also your ability to be like your level of ego and self pride also builds up into your belief, because if you don't want to accept something, you will never like create really like concrete beliefs and genuine beliefs about yourself. But it's in these times where you're alone and you're growing and you're making mistakes and figuring it out that you create your own beliefs, and as you grow, those beliefs will be the foundations for which you build your life. Now, for some people, it's different. I hate roommates. It's not like it's not like I'm hiding anything, not doing anything. I was doing school online, and it was in the middle of the night. So I knew having a roommate would just be a problem anyway. I was recording my podcast like now. It's 10 p.m. Someone wants to sleep. I'm like, I don't know how to deal with that. So just the idea of roommates and having to like split bills and figure out like who's doing dishes and who's doing all that was just, I was like, I would rather have a hard time than have a roommate. Some people love roommates, and most people go through the roommate route, and it teaches you how to live with other people and how to connect with other people, and how to be a mature like adult. Um, and you have conflicts, and those conflicts breed growth, and that's how you kind of like become a person. I don't like roommates. I don't like. the idea of living with a roommate is such a foreign thing. In Kenya, we don't really have that, so it's a very different idea. But having roommates was just like, some people love that. And that helps you also mask the loneliness that comes with it. Um, and then some people just never care and they just go along. I would love to be that person, but it is hard. It is hard for real. But the good part of moving out and growing up, I will say, is one, you get to live your own life according to your own terms and at your own speed, right? And so if you're somebody who wants to explore and make these big decisions, that's your time. You have to also accept that the consequences lie solely on you, right? So it teaches you to be very careful, but to also like go out there and experience life. You also when you like award yourself when you make an achievement, even though people will like celebrate you, you'll know it's solely on you because you did that in the space of your own time, right? Then I think another thing is also like learning how to be just simple things like hygiene, right? Like doing your own laundry, folding your own clothes, making sure your room is tidy, like the small things, like decoration, and that's the one thing that I can do. Like decorating a room, yeah, you'd pay me $1,000, I would not be able to do that. I just don't have that like fashion ish like brain. So some people do. So if you do, good for you. It also brings hobbies. I do podcasts. Some people draw. Some people like find jobs, like small jobs here and there. It brings creativity, and it also allows you to find the right partner, right? And I think it's in that time that you start realizing what you need and what you're missing in a person. And you go out there and you put yourself out there and you look. But the whole idea of moving out is very scary in the world of today. Most people, some people, right, might be like in their teens, late teens maybe, or early 20s, and they still can't figure out very simple things like paying taxes, and like it sounds very like crazy, but there are people who don't even know what taxes are. There are people who don't even know like how to like do their own laundry. There are people who don't know how to like fill their own gas. It's the small things that people don't like they take for granted, and everything is done for them. And I blame parents for this actually because they are like, oh my little kid, No, you breeding you're like raising like a problem to society, a burden to society, like a person who just can't take care of themselves. And those kind of people are the ones that kind of have it hardest because they might never grow. They might never grow and they'll believe that they're entitled to everything. And I really do believe that sometimes just taking the hard path makes you better. It's very scary. And most kids would rather stay home forever today. Most kids know like it's such a risky thing to move out and be like figure out yourself, like I just want to stay at home. And for me, I'm like, at some point, it just starts feeling weird if you're still in the same house as your parents, Like, I don't know. For me, I would start feeling like I need to. I do think, because I know Chris very well, we would butt heads on some things if we were still like in the same place, just because of like I do think I might do things that he might not like, but as long as you're under their roof, you have to like follow their rules, And some people are okay with that. I think sometimes like you have to just tell yourself, okay, it's hard, but I have to make my own like path. I have to be my own person, and it's scary, and it's something that just needs planning and time and figuring out where am I gonna live, what am I gonna do, what's for my job. I don't want to move out now. I will do it at this time. Let me save this much and do all these things. But some people don't even know how to save. They don't. They just think money comes in, money goes out. Money comes in, money goes out. Nothing. And so those are the things that in the end affect how you experience life as a young adult and grow. And like our parents now were once young adults, and I think maybe in their time they didn't have so much distractions, so they were able to just focus on themselves and build lives for themselves. I think for today is very different. And people like blaming Gen Z, but I don't. You guys made us. You guys created all these things for us. So when we're using it, don't blame us. We didn't create TikTok. We didn't ask for it. It was created. And no one actually, we are the first people who are growing up with these things. So give us a break. Right? We are also just trying. You would have been the same if you were in our shoes. But I also think sometimes people overdo things just because they want to, and it's not right. But yeah, so moving out, like I remember like when I think I bought a bed the first time I bought a bed. I bought like a chair. I bought like some living room stuff, a mirror. I bought some utensils, light bulbs, pictures, like just like the bathroom stuff, like curtains, um, a desk, like a cord, all these things, like the things you don't think about. Oh, towels, those kind of things, and it's hard to go from yeah, your clothes are ready to ooh, I need to do some laundry. It really is hard, and then like something else that I still fear myself, like I still fear that I will one day like really regret this, but it's cooking. I think my body has grown a certain level of immunity over time just because of how poor my cooking was. And because I was alone, I didn't have any judgment. So I tried out recipes. I never saw cooking as something so essential until I moved out by myself and I realized that I had to cook for myself to save money. I also realized that to be able to like prepare for the week because it was COVID time. I didn't have to like work, and so I was kind of home. But when I started working, I had to prepare for the week with food and be like, I'm gonna make this and make this and make this and make this. So that whole like planning, sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish I didn't have to do that, but you do. And it's okay to call home a couple times and ask, hey, how do you do this? How do you make this? I think I remember calling a couple times and being like, so I want to make this. How do I make it? What do I need? And sometimes you'll realize that some things you might not have to make a cake, and that's okay. You cannot afford it. That's okay. Um, but I think the biggest thing of all about moving out is it taught me to be honest with myself because I realized that if I lied or if I kind of like was in denial, I would only be in denial with one person, that was me. So if I was in denial about having a hard time, I was in denial about having hard time with me. If I was in denial about making a mistake, I was in denial about making a mistake to me. And it also taught me to respect people, just like, oh, a pipe has busted. I need to call a plumber. How am I going to talk to this plumber? How am I going to make sure that they come over and charge me less? How am I going to call this person to make sure that my phone bill is paid? How am I going to call to make sure the electricity bill is paid? What happens when my house floods? Who am I going to call? These things, like, they make you realize that you are nobody and you're just starting. And there's a sense of respect that you just there's a sense of respect that you gain over time, and there's a sense of like gratefulness that you gain for seeing people who've actually made it. And it gives you like a route to take. And so I think the biggest take of this, and I think this is why people should move out, is you become a better human being. When you're sheltered for so long, or you live in a place where you're taken care of for so long, you start losing meaning of respect and reality and just hard work. And these things are like the backbone of society. And I'm not saying everyone who's sheltered or like is taken care of is like that. But sometimes it might go into our head and think, yeah, we're doing great. But think about it. Like, yeah, you're great, but do you pay for your own rent? No. You don't. Do you even know how to do your own laundry? No. So yeah, don't think of yourself so highly. Rent is another thing. Rent, when sometimes the first few months until I actually caught up on this, I never thought about paying rent because it was always paid. So I didn't have to think about it. So the first time I got like my budget, I was like, I would budget and then forget about budgeting for the rent and then realize something is not right. And I realized, oh, I have to pay for the rent. It's like, no, you know. And then like just like the medical insurance stuff, just those kind of things. Maybe if you're in your parent on your parents' insurance, that's okay. But if you're not, figuring out those kind of things, figuring out how to like do licenses for things or like get papers for stuff, or because you're growing, you're becoming an adult, and you have to do these things, and no one's going to do them for you. I mean, unless you have somebody to do them for you, but like just figuring it out. And the best thing about this, the best thing about learning from yourself is you never forget it. You never forget how to do something if you taught yourself. But if somebody did it for you, you will never know. So I learned how to fix a pipe, how to fix like a leaking pipe. Just change it and you glue it and wire it together. That kind of thing. Like I learned how to like what to do if there's fire. I learned like the sleep. Because also something else is if you live alone, you're probably gonna watch TV all the time. You're not gonna sleep well. You're just gonna be cranky. So learning about having that discipline to like sleep and take care of yourself and work out and just make sure that you're an upright human being in a society is very important. And these things sometimes just whoosh, fly by until it's too late. And so you find somebody who's married and their wife or their husband is also a parent and has to parent them because they never actually learned these things and they don't get taught. But also I also learned that mistakes could be very costly. There's things that you just can't do. You have to like gauge how you react and what you do and the decisions you make because they can really cost you because you're now an adult, you're not a kid anymore. So yeah, I think moving out is fun. Overall, it's fun. Depending on the route you take, it's fun. Some people never do it, that's okay. But if you actually do it the way I did, I think at the end of the day, if you sum it all up, it's really fun. And you really learn a lot about yourself and about other people. And you learn how to just go about life without taking it too seriously. Biggest thing though is Sundays are amazing because you get to go to church, you get to learn about God, and you get to reflect because you're by yourself. And for some reason, around that time when I lived by myself, I found that most of the sermons at church were almost correlating with what I was feeling at that time. And it was hard to to accept that I was going through a hard time. And because of that pride, you don't want to show your parents that you're suffering, but you kind of have to just take it and keep learning and keep growing. And maybe somebody else will need your help. But it was amazing. It was amazing. The late nights where I would make ramen and just watch Netflix and wake up sleeping and figure out what I'm going to do that day and do my own laundry and clean my house and fold my own clothes and fix my fan because I lived at the coast and it was very hot. I also was doing school at night, so learning how to like do my own school, like meet deadlines and do schedules and all that kind of stuff. Like I had like math problems I had to figure out how to do by myself. Like all these things. Like I'm looking back now and I'm like, I'm so grateful every single one of them because they made me who I am. And would I go back and do the same? I would. And so now, if a pipe breaks, I'm not gonna freak out. I'm gonna chill and be like, okay, I'll go and turn off the main water thing and just wait for someone to come and fix it. Easy. Like I'm not going to like really worry about it. And it teaches me to also not just like there is a level of like sometimes things happen and you're so scared, and you're like, how am I even gonna get out of this? Like I live by myself. This is so hard. My parents are not here. And one thing about moving out also, it can make you really hate your parents because you almost think like they just threw you out there. Um, and you're like, why did you do this to me? Why did you not teach me this? No, don't blame them. It's up to you to learn them. And so yeah, I just learned so much moving, like growing up. I did. And now, am I a better person? Like, am I at the place where I want to be? No. But am I like a better person for it? 100%. And if I would go back, I would get rid of COVID for sure because it messed up a lot of my things. But other than that, would I do it the same way? Yes. Did I have the greatest experiences? Yes. Am I like grateful for it? 100%. And I would not want to do that another way. That is just the best way. So yeah, if you think about moving out, this might be for you. Don't worry. Just take it easy. Just breathe. Be comfortable in the hard times and hardships, and you'll be fine. And just trust in God and pray. Yeah. All right. See ya.